Good evening, welcome to the show. I'm Regina Lay.
And I'm Sean Yao.
Tonight's big stories. Enteng intensifies into a severe tropical storm as it moves away from the country, leaving a trail of destruction behind. Some towns remain inundated.
The Commission on Audit flags another one of the Education Department's programs. This time around, it's a feeding project for school children worth more than 5 billion pesos that only had expired buns and spoiled milk to show for it.
And the Commission on Human Rights is now looking into possible human rights violations in the serving of the arrest warrant for Apollo Kibuloy at the KOJC compound in Davao City. Even as it moves away from the Philippine area of responsibility, Tropical Storm Enteng continues to affect many parts of Luzon, including Metro Manila. In fact, Enteng further intensified into a severe tropical storm with signal number 1 still up in at least 4 provinces. Though the rains have stopped, flooding can still be seen in Licab, Nueva Ecija. Floodwaters inundated several establishments in the area, including some houses near the rice fields. At the same time, the river and irrigation system have overflowed, and affected residents have since been evacuated for their safety. Over in Aurora, fishermen are still grounded as the current remains strong due to the winds brought by Enteng. In Dilasag, clearing operations continue on the roads to remove the fallen trees after the storm's onslaught.
This was also the case in Santa Maria in Ilocos Sur. Heavy rains and winds caused by Enteng also toppled a large acacia tree, forcing the road to be temporarily closed for clearing operations. The Tapatong Caleo spillway has also been closed to lightweight vehicles after it overflowed. According to the NDRRMC situation report earlier this morning, at least 10 people died due to severe tropical storm Enteng. 7 fatalities were verified in Calabarzon, 1 in Western Visayas, and 2 in Central Visayas. At least 10 others were also hurt, also all in Central Visayas. The NDRRMC said that Enteng affected over 37,000 families in Metro Manila, Calabarzon, Central Luzon, the Bicol region, Western Visayas, and Central Visayas. The agency added that Enteng's damage to infrastructure has so far reached 200,000 pesos, but this is still expected to rise. As of 5 p.m., Enteng intensified into a severe tropical storm, and according to Pagasa, it's located 165 kilometers west-northwest of Lawag City in Ilocos Norte. It is packing winds of up to 115 kph, moving west-northwestward at 10 kph. Currently, signal number 1 is still in place over Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, the northern portion of La Union, and Abra. Enteng is expected to exit the Philippine area of responsibility tomorrow morning.
Pililia in Rizal is now under a state of calamity a day after pounding rains from Tropical Storm Enteng battered the municipality. Floodwaters there reached as high as 10 feet at the height of the storm's onslaught. But while residents say they're used to being inundated during typhoon season, waking up to piles of thick mud was something else. In Barangay Imatong, a payloader truck had to be used to clean up muck that covered now impassable roads. Elsewhere, locals are cleaning up by hand, wading through mud to salvage whatever they can. Damage to property was staggering. Even sturdier structures like the town's drugstore, primary school, and even a covered court were not spared from the flash flood.
Hindi namin expect na magkakaganon pala kami ngayon kasi kahit naman umulan bumaging, hindi ganong malakas ang nagagasaan ng tubig, pagtaas kagad ng tubig. Nung gabi, ulan-ulan lang.
Masyadong mabilis. Nung ondoy, nagkaroon pa kami ng konting preparasyon dahil alam namin na unti-unting tumataas. Pero yung ngayon nangyari, sobrang napakabilis. Sobra kaming nabigla. Ang totoo niyan, kumpleto kami sa mga advisory. Sinasabi na namin, eto na yung level ng tubig. Sumisiray na rin kami pag kailangan na mag-evacuate. Pero after ng sirena namin, mga 10 or 20 minutes, ayan na yung tubig.
A total of 6 out of 9 barangays in Pililia have been virtually buried in mud in only a few hours of torrential rains on Monday. During the flash flood, one resident died while another one remains missing. Aside from cleanup operations, the municipality's river is also being dredged. The local government is blaming the volume of rain that fell in Pililia for the flash floods, but locals believe that quarrying activities and other real estate development around their area aggravated the situation.
Siguro po na yung bundok medyo nakalbo na. Naging sementado na yung ibang area. Intindihin din nila yung mga low-lying area na kung saan raragsagasa yung tubig. Or pag po magiging ganyan ng ganyan, talagang ang bayan po na Pililia lulubog.
Ang suspecha ko ng mga nakakatanda dito sa akin, yung pagkukwari dyan sa taas, tsaka yung mga dinidevelop na subdivision. Mga puno, iilan-ilan na lang.
The local government of Rizal is asking other LGUs for fire trucks and heavy equipment that can help them clean up the muds faster.
Images over in Bulacan are just as grim. Towns were also submerged for hours as Enteng dumped heavy rains on the province. This report from mobile journalist Kayla Makantan.
In Marilao, Bulacan, residents of Sitio Dulo Marimel in Barangay Lambakin now have to go around using makeshift boats. Floodwaters here were neck-deep at some point after a river overflowed on Monday at the peak of Tropical Storm Enteng sweep. Many were caught by surprise by the steady and swift inundation in only a few hours. Residents are literally picking up the pieces after the destruction that came after.
Hindi naman din namin alam na biglang tataas yung tubig. Umuulan pero pahinto-hinto. Nakapanghina na talaga kasi hindi pa kami natatapos maglaban ng mga damit na nabahan ng Karina, tsaka yung mga gamit hindi pa nalilinis. Ito na naman si Bagyong Enteng.
Many are still reeling from the recent storm's effects. According to the Marilao MTRCB, 8 of 16 low-lying barangays in Marilao were affected by massive flooding. Hundreds of locals have temporarily left their homes for safer shelters. In Barangay Poblacion 2, residents who stayed are wading through knee-deep flood waters from Enteng's rains and the high tide.
Bukod sa flash flood kahapon, may mga nadagdag dahil meron tayong high tide sa oras na ito. Until hanggang mamayang hapon. Kaya ganun may mga tubig pa rin ibang lugar.
In Maykawayan, Barangay Lawa is still submerged because of the high tide.
Pag kunting ulan lang po, may tubig na dito kaagad, baha na. Tapos kung sumabay pa po yung high tide, gabaywang na po. Conforme po sa lakas ng ulan.
Ito po Barangay Lawa, kaya po kapag bumabagyo, kapag ganyang panahon, literal na naglalawa po siya.
Residents are now appealing for a long-term solution, raise the level of roads to prevent flooding. But barangay officials doubt this could be done sooner.
Inuna muna po yung pumping. Kasi nga po, hindi magagawa yung construction Kung laging high tide, masisira din po. Hindi rin po kasi ma-construct yung area pag lagi may tubig. Kung yun po yung sinemento, babahain pa rin po.
In Kalumpit, Bulacan, high tide and intense rains combined is also a persistent problem. In Maysulao, the barangay's covered court that's supposed to be a safe shelter for residents is inundated. Boats are the usual mode of transportation during these times. Over 11,400 people from 17 areas in Bulacan were evacuated during Enteng's onslaught. Aside from torrential rains and high tide, it did not help any that Bustos and Ipo dams had to release water today to prevent overflow. It could take a while before flood waters in these parts of Bulacan subside. For News 5, Ria Fernandez, We Are One News.
Well, as always, the question after flooding this bad is where are the flood control projects? We'll have to put that question to Public Works Chief Manny Bonoan. Welcome back to the big story. Good evening, Secretary Bonoan. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Tiger, and good evening for good evening.
Thanks for making time for us again, Secretary Bonoan. As before, this is not going to be an easy conversation. You've heard our reporting on the massive flooding in some of the towns and provinces. What do you think happened this time? What is your assessment?
Well, there are areas that are susceptible to flooding even at this point in time. Actually, the flood control programs that we are undertaking is just part of the solution to the flooding problem. It should have to be to address flooding problems. It has to be done actually holistically. For one thing, when we came into this administration 2 years ago, I noticed that actually the riverbeds along the rivers, many of the rivers, are very shallow. So you can expect that any big rainfall, the rivers will have to overflow. So I'm sure that there are other projects that have been undertaken over the past years, but it's not enough actually to mitigate unless the riverbeds are dredged and desilted, so that the carrying capacity of the rivers should be increased actually.
Sec Manny, it's kind of fresh in my head. We spoke right after Karina. That was July 24. We spoke to you last week of July. Right after that, about a week after, you showed up in Senate and the senators were questioning you on what happened to all the flood control problems. So I'm not going to ask you those again. But what I want to ask you, Sec, is what have we started doing since Bagyong Karina to try to kind of play catch up, because as we know, we are very much behind in the implementation and even the master planning of all these flood control projects, which, as we found out, are not integrated?
Well, if you're looking for the integrated flood control projects, actually are unique for each river basin. Actually, in each river basin, there are several components, just like Metro Manila. Metro Manila has, I think, about 7 components, including the technical solutions and the social and environmental components, actually. As far as the engineering interventions are concerned, actually, I think the Department of Public Works and Highways over the years have been undertaking the components when the master plan that was formulated with the assistance of the World Bank, I understand, in 2012. So my information is many of these have already been undertaken, but there are still many components, engineering components that have to be undertaken for the Pasig Marikina flood management control project. You can appreciate that in Karina, the Pasig River and Marikina River did not overflow, despite the fact na medyo malaki yung rainfall that came down. No? The only problem inside Metro Manila is that the rainwaters that poured inside Metro Manila cannot be drained immediately because For one thing, it has to go through, the runoff has to go through the drainage system of Metro Manila, which is actually very antiquated. And it's been there for many, many years, more than 50 years. It's not actually designed already for the requirements this time. Although this is part of the flood control master plan, this is still have to be undertaken. The drainage system in Manila area is only about 30% efficient at this point in time because it's been silted, and it is exacerbated because of yung basura.
Right, Sec. Pero may plano po ba na i-upgrade? Kahit po yung, let's say, ito muna, sa Metro Manila. But I want to ask you also about the other river basins because it's not just in Metro Manila that experienced it. That's the difference with Carina. Now we're seeing other province all the way to the Visayas, right? But focus on Metro Manila for really quickly. Secretary, meron po bang update? Like you said, it's outdated now. What is the plan? Last time we discussed some sort of cistern or impounding area. How possible is that? Have we started looking into that?
Yes. Yes, we are actually impounding. We have to provide yung mga dams dun sa watershed in Sierra Madre, and we have to yung mga river impounding projects there, and we are now in the process of undertaking the feasibility study and the design of 3 dams that will be constructed on top of the new Wawa Dam that is actually made for water supply, not for flood control. So it's in the drawing board now, and we are hoping that we can fast track the early implementation of these dams. And we also have to construct a retarding basin in San Mateo so that we can store initially the flood waters that will come down, and so that it will not go directly to the low-lying areas in Marikina and Metro Manila.
But there's a bit of confusion, Secretary, because when you appeared in Senate last month, they were asking about a national flood control master plan.
Listen.
I understand
there is no.
Go ahead.
You cannot have a single unified single master plan for the entire country. It has to be done on a river basin because the requirements per river basin is unique from one another. You can just imagine that the river basin in Mindanao will not be the same here in Metro Manila. That is what I tried to explain actually during that hearing, that we cannot have a one single master plan for the entire country. It has to be unique for each of the river basins on a regional basis.
Okay, so there is a master plan for each of the 18 major river basins in the country, but they cannot be put together into one single unified national master plan.
I don't think so.
Sec, another clarification is for Metro Manila, would that be possible for a single master plan? Because we have so many small LGUs making up Metro Manila. For the capital region, is it possible to have a cohesive one?
There is one single master plan for Metro Manila. And as I said, the master plan includes several components. That has to be, there are projects that have to be undertaken also by the local government. And actually the water management of the environment, the watershed areas in Sierra Madre.
So hindi pa po natin, Sec, hindi pa po natin nasisimulan?
Pati Basura, somebody has to take care of the Basura inside Metro Manila.
Okay, so on that master plan for Metro Manila, which has existed, I believe, 30 years na yata, no? Parang 1972?
No.
No?
This master plan has been updated. This master plan of Metro Manila was updated after Ondoy.
Okay.
And this was completed in 2012, I understand.
But for now, is it still a plan? Has it been executed?
Yes. No, it is being executed.
At all?
It is now being executed, that's what I'm saying. Many of the components are being executed, particularly the structural engineering interventions are continuously being implemented.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. I guess this is the time where I have to ask around when we can expect that to be completed. We all know it cannot be overnight. I know it's it's not a trick question, but just to have a timeline that we can, keep an eye on.
As far as the structural component is concerned, our timetable is anywhere to be well implemented, starting within this administration. But I don't think it will be completed anyway, to be honest. But it has to be continued on. I think it will go beyond 2030.
Okay.
The Senate Committee on Public Services, which is chaired by Senator Grace Poe, has already said that they will, put your budget for 2025 through the eye of a needle, precisely because they feel like disproportionate yung the worsening flooding vis-a-vis the increasing budget for flood control every year. How are you planning to explain the discrepancy, the fact that every year they increase the budget for flood control and yet we keep suffering these same issues?
Well, I think we can just have to explain actually what this administration is undertaking actually, and what we intend to do for the next, the remaining years of this administration. As I said, we cannot complete everything within this administration. I must have to be honest about it. But we are going to do whatever we can actually, in accordance with the master plan that has been laid out for each of the river basins.
Last time we spoke to you, you also said that the responsibility for ensuring for flood control for Metro Manila lies with the MMDA, not with the DPWH, correct?
Yes.
But is there
correct in accordance with their charter?
Is there a plan to work more closely together to coordinate better so as to prevent this from keep from floods from constantly besetting the city?
Actually, we are coordinating. I think we have been. I mean, the department has been coordinating for some time. Well, it's not only under this administration, but even in the past administrations, they had been coordinating with MMDA. But there are also other things that need to be addressed. Actually, MMDA, of course, under their charter, is responsible for the flood control program of Metro Manila, and DPWH is actually assisting now the MMDA in accordance with the project that we are implementing that has been based on the master plan prepared by the World Bank. For instance, the DPWH is actually undertaking the rehabilitation of many of the pumping stations in Metro Manila that were constructed way back many years ago to increase the output capacity of many of these pumping stations. And this is the reason why I think if you will notice, yung flood in Metro Manila, when before, let's say, Ondoy time, it took about 3 weeks actually to subside. Now in Metro Manila, yes, there's still flooding in Metro Manila, but the run of water inside Metro Manila will be subsiding in a few days lang.
Okay.
So you don't agree that the flooding situation currently is just the same as it was during Ondoy, which is something that House lawmakers have pointed to?
Well, I think it has improved actually because of these interventions, the projects that have already been being undertaken by, DPWH in particular.
Okay. Sec, one last question, like leaving flood control very, very quickly, but still on the effects of really heavy rains. Yung mga landslide po, ang dami po sa Rizal, a lot of roads.
Yeah.
What's your initial assessment on the matter? I understand they're still kind of ongoing, unfortunately. What reports have you gotten from the field?
Yeah, I visited actually the affected areas this afternoon, and actually I noticed actually not along the main roads actually, not along the national roads. It is mostly along the local roads that have been nagkaroon ng landslides. And unfortunately, there have been fatalities alongside because of loose soil that landslides. No? So even then, I think I have, in fact, I have instructed our district engineering officers to assist the local government units and see what interventions we can contribute para hindi maulit yung mga ganong
Kasi po, tama po ba na LGU po yung small roads? That's up to the
Yes,
LGU
that's
under
correct.
their care, right? Yung national roads, yun po
That's
yung sa DPW. Okay, thanks for clearing that up.
Okay, we're gonna have to leave that there for tonight. Thank you so much for those updates. That was DPWH Secretary Manny Bonoan.
Pausing for a very quick break. Right after that, X ratings on the films Alipato at Muog and Dear Satan. Why did the MTRCB disapprove these for public viewing? Chairwoman Lala Soto's answer when we return. Keep it here on The Big Story.
Welcome back. You're also watching The Big Story here on One News.
Why did the MTRCB classify the indie or independent film Alipato at Muog as X or X-rated? And how will they regulate Viva Max content streamed online? Well, MTRCB officials were on the hot seat today as they defended their budget over at the Senate. Mayan Los Baños with the rest of the story.
This is the movie Dear Satan. It's about a child who wrote a letter to Santa Claus, but instead of Dear Santa, he accidentally wrote Dear Satan. This led to a meeting between the child and Satan where the demon tried to teach the child evil. But Satan ended up surrendering, seemingly changed by the child's goodness. This movie has been given an X rating by the Movie and Television Review and Classification Board, or MTRCB. The reason?
I have seen the film. I joined the board. I am offended as a Christian.
Ano, demonic?
No, it is not demonic, but it is a depiction of, it has a different depiction of Satan becoming good. Satan will never ever be good.
Soto Antonio said this during the Senate hearing earlier on the agency's 2025 budget of 164 million pesos. She said Dear Satan violated Presidential Decree 1986, which is why it was given an X rating, meaning it is not allowed for public viewing. The decree, signed in 1985 by then-President Ferdinand Marcos, created the MTRCB. It states that the MTRCB board may disapprove a film for public viewing on several grounds.
I am appealing from the heart of a mother.
Another film, Alipato at Muog, was also found to have violated regulations and slapped with an X rating. This is an independently produced documentary about a man who criticized the government until he suddenly disappeared in 2007.
In the judgment of the board, the film tends to undermine the faith and confidence of the people in their government or duly constituted authorities. Therefore, the first review committee rated it X.
The filmmakers of Alipato at Muog have already applied for a second review by the MTRCB, saying the X rating is effectively a form of censure, while the producers of Dear Satan said they will change the title of their movie. The hearing also discussed the issue of indecent content on the streaming site Viva Max. When asked if the MTRCB can regulate X-rated content on social media sites and online streaming platforms, the MTRCB chief had this to say.
How can we solve this problem? Kasi kahit sino, kahit minor de edad, pwedeng manood ng yung mga pelikula na X-rated, supposedly X-rated, lalo na sa Viva Max. How can you control it? How can we regulate it?
Truthfully, it is impossible to regulate all these online curated content platform services. We cannot review, classify each and every material before it is exhibited on the screens.
Soto Antonio said that the board had previously engaged in discussions with Viva Max, which assured them they were trying their best to cooperate with the MTRCB. Meanwhile, MTRCB Executive Director Roberto Diciembre explained that the board was created long before the internet existed, hence the reason they don't have jurisdiction over online content yet.
There are thousands, even millions of materials to be reviewed if we will be reviewing online streaming. And the board is not capable of doing so, Mr. Chairman.
Although they lack mandate, the MTRCB is talking to Meta and TikTok about safeguards, content control mechanisms, and establishing feedback systems. By the end of the hearing, the MTRCB's requested budget passed through the Senate committee. For News 5, Mean Los Baños, we are One News.
Insect-infested buns, food past their expiry date, and spoiled milk. These are just some of the issues of the school-based feeding program that the Commission on Audit found. And that's even though the program was given a budget of more than 5 billion pesos for 2023. Manuel Enriquez has the full story.
The Commission on Audit has flagged the Department of Education once more, this time over its feeding program in 2023. COA found delays in the delivery of Nutribon and milk intended for children over 21 school division offices in 3 regions. Sometimes the food wasn't even delivered at all or were unfit for consumption because it has molds, pests, or were just plain expired. House Committee on Welfare of Children Chairman and BHW Party List Representative Angelica Natasha Co was the one who raised the report.
Yung mga bulok na Nutribon, may amag na Nutribon, o kaya naman may pest or insekto sa loob po ng mga Nutribons natin. Meron din pong kakulangan sa bilang ng gatas na na-deliver, mga questionableng manufacturing at expiration dates kasi po meron din pong late deliveries at unsanitary packaging at mga boxes po ng Nutribons.
The school-based feeding program was given a budget of 5.69 billion pesos in 2023 according to COA, but auditors found numerous problems with the food, either in terms of its quality or its packaging. ACT Teachers Party List Representative Franz Castro called for an investigation into the matter.
Hindi rin katanggap-tanggap na magde-deliver na expired pagkatapos ibabalik na lang. Imagine 10 in 17 regions. So malaki, no? Buns, tsaka milk. So, kailangan maimbestigahan yan.
DepEd ASEC Dexter Galban said sourcing local supply of milk has also been a challenge in implementing the program.
Based on existing records also from previous budget hearings, our capability to supply milk locally is only at 1%. That's why for 2024 to 2025 school year, we're actually doing it in 3 batches in order to make way for the limited supply.
As for the food that was expired or found to have been infested with pests,
To those that have reported that are spoiled, as well as those that were noted to have pests, based on our standard contract, the supplier is supposed to replace them at no additional cost to DepEd. Although there may be delays, we do hope to take note of the completion of each of the program components, both the food component and the milk component.
Galban says they're trying to fix the issues one by one.
One of our main interventions on this matter would be to further institutionalize enhancing our procurement locally, particularly to ensure that the contracts are adhered to effectively, and at the same time the quality control by those that will be receiving the food packages are also maintained.
COA said a total of 1,001 pieces of e-Nutriban delivered between September last year to January this year, for instance, were returned to suppliers in Misamis Oriental after these were found to have molds. The supplier will have to replace them at no cost to the government. Still, new DepEd Secretary Sonny Angara, who officially took over from Vice President Sara Duterte only a month ago, says they won't hesitate to blacklist errant suppliers in the future.
Pagka paulit-ulit na pumapalpak, pwedeng i-blacklist ho yung supplier na yon. Yun ay isa sa mga nakikita ko. At siguro maglagay ng damages provision din po sa kontrata para medyo matakot ang mga ito.
For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
Moving on now to the Commission on Human Rights saying that it will investigate possible human rights violations in the serving of the arrest warrant against Apollo Kibuloy. This came up in today's hearing at the lower house for the CHR's budget next year.
I agree with you that there are several rights that may be involved here. One of which is, as you mentioned, the religious freedom of the KOJC members, and there may be other civil liberties that may be affected, Your Honor. Our regional office, Your Honor, is currently investigating the situation, monitoring the situation, and in fact, we already...
Investigating and monitoring, Mr. Chair...
Different ones, Your Honor.
Is not good enough. Considering the unfolding of events in several days and continuing up to today, I think CHR should do something because we need to protect them. Protecting their human rights is the center of the function of the CHR. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor. But before the Commission acts on the situation and to perform whatever is necessary, we have to conclude our investigation.
Do you have a time frame, sir?
Ano ba time frame natin?
I'm sorry for being insistent, but this is violation of civil and political rights. You need to protect people.
We understand, Your Honor. That's why we directed our regional office to expedite the investigation.
In a separate statement, the Commission on Human Rights assured the public that it is monitoring the situation inside and outside of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ compound in Davao City. It went on to say that it is important to emphasize that the right to worship is a fundamental human right enshrined in both domestic and international law. Even in times of conflict, international humanitarian law recognizes the need to protect places of worship from unnecessary interference and desecration. The manhunt for Kibuloy is now on its 11th day, having begun on August 24. The police say that they're about 50% through with their search of the 30-hectare compound, and they remain confident that the fugitive pastor is in one of the underground bunkers. PNP spokesperson Colonel Jean Fajardo yesterday reiterated that they will not leave until every corner of the compound has been searched. Earlier today, there was a bit of a kerfuffle again after KOJC legal counsel attorney Israelito Torion attempted to enter the basement of the Jose Maria College, but his group was stopped by police.
Nag-start na sila ng
drilling operator.
Pasok, sino ang ano nyo? Pinaka-head po dyan? Ha? Sir, yung in charge po. Oo. Major, baka pwede kami, ayun.
Attorney Torreon has appealed publicly to the police to stop the alleged drilling and mining activities in the JMC basement of the compound and to allow him to enter the premises. Instead, Police Regional Office 11 Director Brigadier General Nicolas Torre III challenged Torreon to prove his claims.
About sa digging na yan, allegation ni Attorney Torreon yan, let him prove that. Wala akong sinasabi muna dyan sa mga bagay na yan, sapagkat yan ay allegation nila. Let them prove it. Yan ang gusto nila. Di, sige, let them prove it also.
Pero may photos and videos din.
Ilabas nila yung nagbigay ng photo at pakita niya rin ang, alam niya ang batas paano dyan. Ilabas niya yung taong nagbigay at bigyan niya rin ng sworn statement.
Days before the latest ramming incident by a Chinese Coast Guard vessel on the BRP Teresa Magbanwa, the Philippine Navy says it monitored an increase in Chinese vessels over in the West Philippine Sea and that this includes warships. From August 27 to September 2, 203 Chinese ships from its Coast Guard, militia, and Navy were spotted. That's up from 163 vessels the week before. Most of the ships were positioned at Escoda Shoal, where the BRP Teresa Magbanwa is stationed. The uptick in Chinese vessels comes amid recent tensions between the Chinese and Philippine Coast Guards in the area. Last August 19, the BRP Cape Engaño and BRP Bagakay were damaged after aggressive maneuvers by CCG vessels in the waters off the shoal. Last August 25, CCG vessels water-cannoned a BFAR vessel near the shoal, and the following day, Chinese ships also blocked a resupply mission to the Teresa Magbanwa. Recall that the BRP Teresa Magbanwa was sent to Escoda Shoal on August 16 to monitor suspected Chinese reclamation activities.
This is the highest number we have recorded for this year. I don't want to speculate on their intention, but we could attribute this to the recent attention given to Escoda or Sabina Shoal, wherein there have been reports the past few months of a pileup of crushed corals.
Another quick break for now, but when we return, have you already planned where to go for the remaining holidays this year? It is September. Well, we'll have some tips for you when the big story returns. Don't miss that.
Welcome back. You are still watching the big story here on One News. Before I move on to the next story, just one very quick correction on the last story that I read about the BRP Teresa Magbanwa. It's been stationed at the Escoda Shoal since April, not August. Sorry for that. Okay, moving on.
In other news.
In other news, it's officially the Burr months, in case you missed it. We're here in the Philippines. People start counting down to the Christmas holidays. And one thing to look out for as you plan your family trips is the hospitality industry's annual sale, which kicked off September 1st. And here to talk to us through this exciting program, we have Celeste Tet Romualdo, the Hotel Sales and Marketing Association Secretary, as well as the General Manager of the Linden Suites. Tet, Good evening.
Good evening, Rina. Good evening.
Thank you so much for coming all the way here to talk to us about this. So you call this the SOS, September Online Sale. Tell us all about it.
Well, this actually initiative started in 2020 during the height of the pandemic. We're thinking of way on how to help the hotels and the industry survive. So we thought of coming up with this online platform wherein the member hotels can sell their products, including rooms, F&B, at heavily discounted rates, at the convenience of their own homes. Because at that time, no one can go out to buy and to travel. And we started that in 2020 and continued on until this year. This is actually our year 5 already.
Ted, wait, before we carry on, did you plan it really to be on September 1 because it's already officially the Christmas season here in the Philippines?
Right, yeah. This is in preparation of the Christmas.
Yeah, okay. So, and then, next question would be, during COVID, you went online, but before that, did this SOS sale already exist, or was it only born during COVID?
It was born during the COVID time, so it witnessed the survival, the revival, and growth of the local tourism.
So what are we talking about? We're talking about deep discounts to hotels around the country.
Up to 75% off. We have 85 member hotels and resorts that participated on this year's event, wherein it was divided into 9 clusters from Luzon up to Davao, and you can see different promotions that you can only find on our website.
What is the website?
It's actually the hotel sales and marketing websites, hsma.org.ph/SOS.
So if I want to buy hotel vouchers that are heavily discounted, that's where I have to go. I can't go straight to the hotels themselves.
No, you have to go to our website, purchase the voucher, and then after purchasing, you will receive a voucher, and then you will call the hotel directly for booking.
So you basically buy discount coupons or vouchers from the HSMA site.
Yes.
And then once you have that copy, I'm sure it's like you can screenshot it or save the number. Then you go to the hotel or resort in question, the specific one, and then doon ka na magbo-book.
Yes.
Okay.
It's of course subject to availability and subject to close-out date, but most of the vouchers are 1 year or even more in terms of validity. So,
I don't have to have dates already.
No.
I can just buy the vouchers and, for a future trip in mind, with a future trip in mind.
And you can also use that as a gift for your loved ones. So, as mentioned, Christmas is approaching. So, it's one of the best gifts that you can give this coming holidays.
What are some of the popular destinations, hotels, resorts that, based on previous years, people have really taken to?
Well, we have a number of hotels from Boracay, like Crimson, Discovery, Lynn Boracay, that are part of the promotions. We also have, near hotels like the Farm at San Benito is part of the promotions, and majority of the hotels in the Metro Manila are also part of the promotions.
Pwede mag-staycation.
Yes.
So people are also buying vouchers for hotels in Metro Manila?
Right, including my hotel, the Linden Suites, is also part of the promotion. So there are several hotels that you can choose from, and this is the first time that you can see this hotel giving as much as 75% discount. So I hope our viewers won't miss this opportunity to get a really good deal.
Because every Christmas I do leave with my family. So I'm not sure what happens here, Do Metro Manila hotels get full or filled up? Because a lot of balikbayans also come back during that time. Right. So
usually December is a peak period, but that's why we started the sale this month, so that they can plan ahead. They have to book in advance. Because normally the peak period is at 24th, the 31st. But I believe if they book in advance, and you can have a good room.
Score a good deal.
What's been the reception like since you started this program?
Well, for this year, we started this September 1st, and for 2 days, we're already able to sell like 3 million worth of vouchers.
3 million pesos worth of vouchers?
And for the past 4 years, I believe we have sold around 98.3 million revenue. So that's the amount of assistance we were able to extend to our member hotels, especially during the first 2 to 3 years after the pandemic.
What does that say about the Filipino traveler? Are you seeing more Filipino traveler, visit domestic locations, places, or are they still choosing to go abroad more?
When we started, well, it plummeted during the pandemic in 2020, but we have seen a significant increase in the domestic trips. From 2022, it went up to 102 million domestic trips to 119 in 2023. We expect the trend to continue this year, although maybe not at that growth rate, because there are also other options abroad. But the reason why we are really pushing for this September sale is because we want to continue to fuel the domestic tourism and entice our Filipino travelers to prioritize our destinations.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, Tet. I mean, you've been working in this association for a while, I'm assuming, and of course, during COVID, biglang nauso yung domestic travel, mostly because people couldn't afford taking 15 days to quarantine in a hotel, right? When you come back from abroad. So parang, sige, domestic na lang, it's so much easier. And a lot of my friends, they traveled to other local destinations for the first time ever, right? So what new destinations has the pandemic, the lockdown unlocked, based on your observations lang?
Well, we have domestic tourists flocking Bohol now, Iloilo, even within drive distance properties in Batangas. So there are several destinations that they can explore.
What about the traffic from overseas? Has it picked up? Has it gotten back to pre-pandemic levels? You mean the foreign travelers coming into the Philippines?
Okay, the last update that I have during our HSMA briefing was we are still far from the pre-pandemic number, but I think we will be hitting at least 6 million international arrival this year. So a little bit short than our 7.7 million target, but we're getting there. And we're optimistic that, in 2026, we'll be surpassing the 2019 level.
What seems to be the holdup in terms of trying to get the numbers back to pre-pandemic levels?
Well, one of the thing is the capacity of our airlines. There's limited airlines.
Do you mean the number of flights have not recovered?
Yes. I think it's because of the limited also aircraft. So although we have more hotels now, a lot of new hotels open, but unless we increase the capacity of our airlines or airports, then that's a time that we can accommodate more tourists compared to other ASEAN neighbors.
Maybe also our airports, increase the capacity of our airports.
Airports, airlines.
So infrastructure still.
Infrastructure.
So the infrastructure hasn't quite kept up with the demand.
Yeah, that's what we're pushing the government to prioritize.
And how has that been?
Well,
trying to work with them.
There are a number of airports being developed. Now there's a privatization that is happening in the NAIA. That's why I've heard that some of the flights will be moved to Clark. But I think the question is...
Are you guys prepared for that? Because that's supposed to happen this month, September.
Yeah, it will benefit some of the hotels in that area. But I'm not quite sure with the travelers because it's, going to Manila. Yeah. It's still a challenge.
We were talking earlier, and you said you wanted to talk a little bit about the revenues of the September online sale. I think we have that as a graphic. If we could just pull that up very quickly. Just taking a look at what the numbers are like. There we go.
There. That's what I mentioned, that we, in 4-year time, we were able to generate 98.3 million revenue for our member hotels.
This is just for September, for the online sale in September.
Yes, for the past 4 years. And we're hopeful that we can, achieve a higher revenue this year.
Yeah, 98.3. How much are you targeting this year?
Well, we're targeting of 25 million for this year.
For the month-long sale.
Yes. So far, we're at 3 million already for the first 2 days.
What's the general demographic of the people who are buying these vouchers? Are they families? Are they, millennial Gen Z travelers? Are they couples? Are they business people? What are they?
All of the above, different segments.
Okay.
So we have families, even balikbayans. They can.
So there are foreigners buying also. Is there a way for you to track it since it's online?
Yes,
and
we
you have
also
the
have a
data?
number of foreign tourists buying online because it has been an institutional event already. So it's been 4 years, so they know the website. And even if it's not September, we have been receiving queries on when can we activate the discounts again. So they're really waiting for this month, this period of time for HSMA to activate the promotions.
Baka nagpaparinig lang sila, Tet, na dapat sa summer din meron. I know that's peak season also. But are you thinking about doing a summer sale?
Yeah, well, that's one thing that we can consider in the future. But, you know, they can buy their vouchers now and they can use it all throughout.
Until summer, that's right.
Oh yeah, that's right. You said it's 1 year validity.
Yeah, it's minimum of 1 year. And some hotels even have vouchers without validity. So.
And again, for people who want to buy, how do they do that? Where do they go?
Well, they have to go to the HSMA website, www.hsma.org.ph/SOS. And then from there, they can see different destinations, and then they can just choose the promo that they want to avail of.
Right, I'm on the website. It is working.
hsma.org.ph/SOS. And again, there's hotels on sale up to 75% off all across the nation.
Yes.
Across Luzon, Visayas,
It's
and
total of
Mindanao.
85 hotels and resorts.
Look at this. 8 participating hotels in Boracay, 9 participating across Palawan, Leyte, and Davao, 10 in Cebu, 7 Manila and Makati. So 6 in Bohol, Iloilo. It's
pretty well spread out.
I'm not even done
Right.
scrolling.
And it ends September 30th.
Midnight of September 30th.
Midnight of September 30th. So they have until then to book there. Are they rationed though? Are there certain rations for some of the more popular hotels? Like for instance, the ones in Boracay you mentioned. Are there limited number of vouchers or people
Well, it
can
depends
just
on the
keep buying?
properties because I know they have limited allotment for some of the really nice promos. So better start buying now.
You named some pretty fancy hotels,
Yeah.
really nice hotels.
Yeah, and if you could get them at 75% off, why not, right?
yeah.
Okay, we're going to have to leave that there. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank you
tonight.
also.
Celeste Tet Romualdo, the Hotel Sales and Marketing Association Secretary and also General Manager of the Linden Suites.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's move on over to sports where there is some good news because our para swimmer Angel Otom is advancing to the medal round of the women's 50-meter backstroke S5 event in the Paris 2024 Paralympics. Autumn clocked 44.03 seconds to finish 4th in Heat 1 and 7th overall in the preliminary round of the event. Only the 8 fastest among the 16 competitors will advance to the finals. The trio of Chinese para-swimmers Lu Tong, He Shengkao, and Liu Yu topped the heats with times of 39.48 seconds, 41.31 seconds, and 42.59 seconds, respectively. The 21-year-old para-swimmer will seek to bring home just the country's 3rd medal in the Paralympic Games later. That's past midnight at 12:33 a.m. Filipino para-swimmer Ernie Gawilan, meanwhile, has ended his Paralympic Games stint in Paris after placing 6th in the men's 400-meter freestyle S7 final. Gawilan clocked in at 5 minutes and 03.18 seconds. This was 24.48 seconds behind Italy's Federico Biccelli, who won the gold after tallying a time of 4 minutes and 38.70 seconds. This is the 33-year-old Gawilan's 3rd Paralympic stint after also finishing 6th in the Tokyo Paralympic Games.
And before we go, just very quickly, as authorities begin their relief operations for those hardest hit by Tropical Storm Enteng, our own Alaging Kapatid Foundation is also mobilizing its relief efforts. As early as yesterday, AKFI teams were already at evacuation centers in Ligon, Albay, providing help and also hot meals to residents there. As before, you can help and with this endeavor with your donations, which will go a long way. You can send financial help to Alagang Kapatid's BDO, Metrobank, and BPI accounts. You can also scan the QR code being flashed on your screens right now. Again, this is for immediate support and aid to the victims of Tropical Storm Enteng.
Okay, hope you got that QR code. And as the Vice President said, share what you have directly to organizations. I saw her
That
statement.
whose specialty this is to distribute aid.
Our Paris swimmer, Angel Autumn, later tonight. That's at 12:33 a.m., just past midnight, so technically that's tomorrow. But for tonight, we are all done with the big story. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.